Since they already performed and.
They're becoming frequent flyers.
Now live.
I think each were twice in a month or month and a half.
Minus. Mics are live.
Okay. Are you in, Leah? Like, are you? You ready? Okay. You didn't have to update your Chromebook?
Nope.
Oh, see, Maria and I had to update our Chromebooks before we could get in.
Nope, I'm in.
You must be a more special person than us.
We knew ahead
Sarah
of time.
didn't either? You didn't have to update your Chromebook?
Maybe we're the special ones, Sean.
Yeah, obviously. Obviously. Okay, well, then we'll call the meeting to order and we'll get going. This is the time and the place for the regular board meeting of the Marshtown Community School District. Welcome to all of you joining us here this evening. Welcome as well to anybody who might be watching via the live stream. We'll do some introductions before we go too much farther. Board members here this evening, to my right, Zach Wall and Sarah Faltis. To my left, Maria Morales and Leah Stanley. To my right here at the center table is Mr. Randy Denham, our board secretary, and to my left is Dr. Theron Schutte, the superintendent of schools. And I am Sean Heitman. We've got a pink sign-up sheet there for anybody who wants to address the board during public comment time. You will be given 5 minutes to speak to the board. Please understand that Iowa law prohibits the discussion of specific employees of the district or their job performance. Also, in accordance with board policy, board members will not respond to comments made so that we can comply with open meeting laws. Is that all the stuff, Randy? Thanks. With that out of the way, would everyone please join me in reading the mission statement of the Marshalltown Community School District? We develop learners who have the knowledge, skills, and positive mindset to successfully pursue a meaningful future through personalized learning experiences. And please stand as you're able and join in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there changes to the agenda this evening?
Yes. Jackie can come up while I'm reading these off because I think there's a personnel change too. 2.03, we're going to table the contract number 3 that was to the STS Foundation for a student exchange program. Also, we added an Iowa Valley Conference Center rental agreement for our special services program. We also, as part of the public hearing, have an adjusted estimated cost, which differs from the one we originally posted.
So we added, this is slide. We added retirement to the personnel consent agenda. And retiring is Cindy Brock. After 20 years of dedicated service, Cindy Brock has decided to retire. Cindy has been a cornerstone of our school community, touching the lives of countless students and colleagues through the compassion, commitment, and her joy of being a Bobcat. We are so grateful for the impact she has made over the past 2 decades. Please join us in celebrating Cindy's retirement and honoring her incredible career, and that comes from Principal Oliver.
Thank you, Jackie. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second.
Faltis Morales, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. That motion carries 5-0. Excuse me. And with that, we will open the public hearing regarding the approval of the plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimated total cost for the Marshalltown High School parking lot project. And I see Mr. Daters coming forward to speak to that.
Yes, just a brief description of the project. This is for the Marshalltown High School parking lot, the portion south of the band lot and just north of the pedestrian walkway that goes from the roundhouse to the athletic complex. Engineer's opinion of cost is $278,913. It's about 2,700 square yards of pavement. The parking lot was used as a staging area during the athletic complex construction, so it's deteriorated quite significantly. Included in this are the addition of the 8 ADA parking stalls. Kind of noticed that those have been absent for the most part over the last year or so, so we're reestablishing those. Those essentially meet the requirements for the entire parking east of Bobcat Boulevard, so all those stalls will be there. And then addition of some sidewalk to designate that ADA accessible route from the parking stalls to the athletic complex. We're also going to address a couple elevation changes at the west end of both the north and that south parking lot. If you guys have been out there, you notice there's quite a drop off from that main walkway coming down right at the west end. So we'll make some corrections in those parking lots to bring that up so that drop off is more typical of a 6-inch curb. That is about it. If there's any questions or any comments during the public hearing, I'm more than happy to help.
Okay.
Adam, did you mention that part of it extends to the south of the walkway to rectify an earlier?
Correct. So the drop off is on both the north and the south halves of that walkway at the very west end, kind of by the stairs where the stairs drop down from Bobcat Boulevard. We'll also be addressing the drop off on the south end, so we'll be removing some of that pavement and then kind of resloping that back up a little bit to get to just kind of, again, a normal 6-inch drop off in those areas.
Does anybody have any questions for Adam? No. Anybody else here to give comment regarding the plan specifications, form of contract, and estimated total cost for the Marshtown High School parking lot project? Randy, were any written comments received? There were not. Then I will close the public hearing regarding the approval of the plan specifications, form of contract, and estimated total cost for the Marshtown High School parking lot project. And we'll move on to recognitions.
So we have some National History Day champions. You might have seen it on our Facebook page this past week. Congratulations to Isaac Benscooter and Isaac Seeberger on earning first place in the senior group performance category at the National History Day contest with their powerful presentation of Tinker versus Des Moines, taking responsibilities for students' rights. Their dedication, talent, and hard work are an inspiration to the entire Bobcat community. This is an amazing accomplishment, and those present at our previous board meeting got to hear from them with a small portion of that performance, and congratulations to them both and to their coach, Susan Fritzell.
Thanks, Abby. And we just thought since we've had him here so many times, we didn't need to bring him back in one more time. Yeah.
The summer after their senior year.
Yeah.
I mean, I got the full 9-minute performance, so if you're interested and if they're okay with it being shared, I can share that with you. So.
Thank
Cool.
you.
Thank you, Abby.
Congratulations to them.
Yeah. Looking then at the consent agenda, we've got minutes from the June 2nd regular board meeting. Jackie, were there any other items of note in personnel? Okay. Looking at interagency agreements and contracts, there's a renewal agreement with Cengage Learning for dual credit pre-calc and calc courses at Marshtown High School. An agreement with Metronet for 1 strand of leased dark fiber. Ooh. Between the high school and the central office. 3 is being tabled or removed, right? That's the, yep. Contract amendment number 3 to the sexual risk avoidance education program to exercise a 12-month renewal for August 1st through July 30th. Contract amendment 2 to the personal responsibility education program to exercise a 1-year renewal. And the facility use agreement with Iowa Valley Conference Center for a meeting to be held on August 21st. questions about any of those contracts or agreements? Looking at open enrollments, we've got 2 out and 1 denial. Randy, anything to note in bills or the monthly financials?
The only thing I'll note in there is you'll see in May, the sales tax bond proceeds went through. And so we've done the appropriate accounting entries to get those funds recorded, and you'll see those reflecting in the capital project fund. Now, if you'll recall, in the prior months, that was showing a negative balance as we were incurring costs for the project prior to the bond sales finalizing. So those have finalized now, and you'll see that balance in there. So that'll be a more accurate running total of where funds are at regarding the projects as we move forward.
Are there any other questions for Randy? We've got 5 school buses that the Transportation Department recommends disposed of as obsolete. We've got a $3,000 grant from the Marshtown Noon Rotary to support the district's vision program, helping students who lack insurance coverage for eye exams and glasses. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
Faltis Stanley, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. Motion carries 5-0. Nobody's on the pink sheet, so Mr. Iskrig, come on down.
All right. I know it's kind of a weird time to be talking about homecoming in the early summer days, but so that's why I'm here today to talk about the homecoming parade and just kind of share a little background. And we're seeking special board permission to have our homecoming parade on a Wednesday for this fall. So I'll backtrack a little bit. Usually people start asking me about when the homecoming date is as early as last winter. I think I've even joked that I should put a quarter in a jar every time someone asks me. I could probably pay for a vacation or something like that. But so the football schedule is on a 2-year basis. So our football schedule was up, I should say, this year. So the football schedule is entirely controlled by the Iowa High School Athletic Association. So we might get a little say in who we play. We get no say in some of the opponents we play, and we get no say in who's home, who's away, that sort of stuff. So this year they released the schedules in early April. So you can see kind of the lateness of them releasing those schedules kind of backs us into a corner a little bit, but that's kind of one of the first things I look at when the football schedules are released is when's homecoming going to be. So there's a lot of things we look at, but each year we aim to select that date that kind of aligns with our calendars, athletic schedules, tradition. And I feel like as a school district, we do a lot of bending. We try to avoid having it on Oktoberfest, which I noted on there because, they close the street. And when I first came here as AD, they said, don't ever have the homecoming parade on Oktoberfest. Someone did that one year and it was not well received with the community. So I've always made a note not to do that. Also, our other home games is week 1. Which is, the last week in August, which is very early for homecoming and just doesn't allow enough planning. And, as most of you know, homecoming, it's kind of about the buildup, the excitement throughout the season. So our other home dates that we were given was September 26th, which is Oktoberfest, of course, right? And then October 10th, which is parent-teacher conferences. So you probably recall as a board, you would approve the parent-teacher or the school calendar long before I got the football schedule. So, which of course that needs to take priority as, parents, teachers, staff, they need to attend parent-teacher conferences. So, and then our last date would be week 9, which is probably too late in the season. Also, just not an ideal date or opponent that we want to play. So this year we looked at September 12th versus Mason City as our homecoming game. So it'd be week 3 in the football season. So we thought that was a good date, good opponent. Then of course what the challenges that come with that is our big cross country meet, which we have on Thursday. So traditionally our homecoming parade's on a Thursday. But this year, I talked with Mr. Balver, told him kind of the situation, hey, is there any way we could do it on a Wednesday? Basically said, Ryan, I don't think we have a choice. Then brought it to Dr. Schuette's attention, and furthermore, we went ahead and we just said, well, we need to go meet with the Minister Association here in Marshalltown. So I'll get to that in a minute. But for those of you that don't know about our Bobcat Cross Country, I know most of you do, it's just such a big event. There's, just thousands of people out there. We had 2,500 runners last year. And then, of course, all the fans. I mean, traffic is crazy in Marshalltown that day. And it's just kind of it's the premier cross-country meet of the state. I mean, it's impossible to move. We have so many schools that attend it each year. It's kind of considered the mini state meet. We get teams from Dubuque and Central Iowa that come all the way here. So it's just it's just something that and for those of you who haven't been there, it's like a mini state fair. I mean, there's so many people, and it requires our full administrative presence. Also, even our first responders, so police, fire out there directing traffic, and we just couldn't do that and the homecoming parade at the same time. So it would just be too hard. So looking ahead, we've already started looking at homecoming for next year, which we're looking at the Des Moines East game Friday, September 18th, 2026, which should not conflict with Oktoberfest, and at least what I've talked with Dr. Schuette, it should not conflict with parent-teacher conferences. So that's my request, and that we're requesting a one-time exception to our board policy. It says no Wednesday activities past 6:30. So we feel the request is kind of unavoidable due to some scheduling conflicts, and also just to backtrack, when we met with the Minister Association, they were very grateful and appreciative that we took the time to meet with them, and they said, go for it, basically. So that's my request, and I guess I'd just like to say I appreciate your consideration and continued support of our student activities. Any questions?
So it's those 4 dates plus September 12th are the 5 home games?
Correct. Yep.
And those are the only 5 home games we have this year?
Yes.
I'm assuming, yeah.
Yep. So we have 5 this year, then we'd have 4 home games next year.
Comments? I mean, I think the policy says don't do it whenever possible, right? So it's not a never, ever, ever. So makes sense to me. So I appreciate that you went out and met with the Ministerial Association, because I mean that is sort of the purpose of that 6:30 policy, is to give kids a chance to do those sorts of things. So I think that was a good move, and I understand they were supportive of holding the homecoming parade. So,
yeah.
Is there a motion to approve the request for the 25 homecoming parade as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Morales Faltis, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 5-0.
Well, thank you.
Thanks. You got a big crew for golf this week?
Yes. It'll be a packed house, but it'll be fun.
Good.
So, yeah. Thank you.
You ready? Come on down, Lynn.
I handed out some information to you ahead of time on purpose because it would just shorten my
Thank you.
time of wasting yours. So Once again, Heart of Iowa Big Brothers Big Sisters has been providing school-based mentoring in the Marshtown School District probably since, I believe, since 2006. And I have been with this agency since 2007, and part of that I was a mentor match coordinator where I was making those matches. So it has grown and it has been strongly supported by the school district. Every one of our buildings, we are delighted to be able to be there. They are great partners with us between the counseling staff and the secretary. If you're not friends with them, you don't get in the door. And they are fabulous on helping us to be able to do what we need to do in the buildings. And so we greatly appreciate that. I just wanted to make sure that you had a little bit of our data. We do a couple different surveys with our bigs and our littles, and also our teachers. So we can go through this a little bit kind of quickly to give you an understanding of some of the impact. Big Brothers Big Sisters on a national level is about 230 agencies across the country. I just returned from a national conference last week, and so it's all about really that impact and what are those outcomes we're seeing, and how life-changing this can be for a child when they have a one-to-one person that's spending time with them. That really does help them to make better choices. So give you a little bit of an understanding on what some of our survey answers include. First of all, we are one of those affiliates with Big Brothers Big Sisters of America, and we do have 23 standards of practice that we do adhere to. We are also certified mentoring organization with Iowa Mentor, which is connected to Mentor National, and we follow the elements of effective practice, which gives us our structure and guide for how it is we do what we do. All of our volunteers in our program, as well as our board members and our staff, we conduct background checks, we check references, and for our volunteers, we also do have an interview with them in hopes of getting to know them, because that helps us to make those good connections with that little, based on common interests. In 2023, we received a growth award because we had grown to 143 matches. And just again, last week, we received another growth award for 160 matches in 2024. And our staff has been fabulous on making sure that those who had a match the year before in their high school big graduated are in the cycle to be rematched, but also trying to help glean as many of those high school students as we can. So we speak to sports teams to recruit them. We have announcements at the high school. We do everything we can in order for us to help recruit high school students, because at the age of 16, we allow them to, we want them to sign up to be bigs. So great, fabulous bunch of high school students that we have in our district. Our school-based teacher surveys are listed here, and basically these would show you some of those improvements in overall academics, self-confidence, behavior, attitude towards school, attendance, and relationships with peers, all very strong numbers. Those would be specifically from questions we send to the teachers about each particular child that they would have in their classroom. And those are very valuable information that we take and learn from. They also have an opportunity to provide some sort of responses about, or some feedback. One of them said, this little guy learned to play chess with his big, and just has joined the chess club in the last quarter of the year, which, you know, boy, that's fabulous. You're learning, you're modeling, you're teaching, you're learning, you're practicing, you're all kinds of good things that comes by just that interaction with the big during that time. But that strategy building and all those kinds of thinking skills that are being developed because of what they're doing together. So it's just a fabulous thing. Our national office provides something called a YOS or a COS. So it has to do with age. at the age of, up to age 10, they would complete a COS, Child Outcome Survey, and our older ones would all complete the Youth Outcome Survey. This is always kind of interesting because it gives you some sort of understanding on where they're coming from. Now, the YOS is based on the student has taken this prior to just being matched, and then if it's school-based, at the end of the school year. If it's community-based, it's at their anniversary of when they were matched. So we can pull this data on a regular basis, and this is some of this is our community-based, but very little. But 70% of our kids enjoy being in school. We got to work on those 30% so that they have a great time there. Not all, 3 of them say they don't feel like they will graduate from high school. I feel like 60% plan to go to college, 25% have often or almost always felt alone. That tells us that there's still some depression or anxiety that happens for our kids, and 25% seems like a big number to me. I can keep my feelings from getting out of control, 71%. Their big is an important adult to them, 99%. And then, of course, some of those that are determining some risky behaviors, 100% would say they have not drank alcohol in the past 3 months, but one did say that they had gotten high or used drugs in the last 3 months. 100% have avoided the juvenile justice system. These are really strong, wonderful things when we're talking about information for us. But we also know that the longer the match, the stronger the impact. So a whole nother year, some of these kids could change and to be in the more positive on their growth and their experience. So we're hoping for that. Strength of relationship survey. This specifically will give you some sort of an idea on how they feel about their match with their big. We also have at the bottom part of that page, the big's response for how they feel about their match with their little. I won't go over all those, but I will say that there are some real strong numbers when we're talking about the connection that these bigs and littles have made together. This year, for something new, we did a high school big survey to get some feedback from them. And I would say some of this is just as simply as them responding on how they would rank themselves on their experience since they have become a big. So the areas include their self-confidence, their ability to express their feelings, communication skills, level of patience with others, community involvement, ability to meet assignment and project deadlines, their own personal leadership, and their respect for other cultures. Now, the one I found kind of funny that made me laugh was my level of patience with others. There were 3 honest people that said, not good. So I don't anticipate that you're going to recruit them to be teachers. But the big picture is that we do have a lot of real strong numbers here on those who are learning more about themselves because they're a big. The biggest part we always hear from them is, wow, I didn't realize I was going to get so much out of this. And the other part being, oh, I didn't realize not everybody grows up like I did. And so good self-reflection for them. And I always feel like whenever you have an opportunity to have a high school student who's going to volunteer to do something for somebody else, that is the biggest win, because their world is about school and work and whatever activities they're in. And if you can get them to be a little more focused on someone else, and in this situation a little, that is a great big win. So this is good. Once again, all of our littles, or excuse me, all of our bigs are trained in child safety. All of our littles also are trained in child safety, so that we have them feeling like they are able to know who they can go to. And if there is somebody that is some situation in their life that is a question. There's also some information on internet safety that we go over with them on a regular basis as well. Each of our bigs, whether they're high school or adults in the community, are working on some sort of child safety, and we do that as a regular thing, as well as with our staff. We have a grant with HHS, Iowa Health and Human Services, and that is a prevention grant. So we do train our bigs so that they can have conversations with littles. Last year, our focus area was on vaping. And this year, it was on alcohol and underage drinking. And we provide conversation starters, so it's not something that's awkward, but that they are able to have that conversation with ease by just a couple of questions to kind of get that started. And those things have been key to part of that prevention, because recognizing the impact of a big can have on a little in making good choices. Some of our funding sources are listed here. I know some of you have volunteered to participate in Bowl for Kids' Sake in the past, and we do have a new fundraiser this year called Race for the Kids. We are partnering with MCC Esports as well as Emerson. And if you have any interest, please don't hesitate to check this out. It's coming up July 26th, and it will be at Emerson, the Innovation Center. The opportunity to put together a team of 4 players, and if you're short and you would like, you could also recruit, draft an MCC player, as well as some of our littles who have decided that they are brave enough to give this a try. So there you go. And some of you, I think, have also received a possible sponsorship opportunity if you have any interest in that. We are also putting together a back-to-school event on August 17th, which is a Sunday, at Miller in the cafeteria from 1:30 to 3:30. That's pulling together organizations that all, including the school district, that will all come together for a one-stop for families to, if they need vision checks, dental screenings, if they need some sort of update on their shots, if they, because we're working with public health on that. We will have some school supplies available. We will have about, I don't know, I think there's probably 15 to 20 different organizations who will be there for one-stop kind of back-to-school thing for families. Last year, we held it outside in 95-degree weather, and we decided that wasn't necessary. So we'll be holding it in the cafeteria at Miller this time. Let me see. That is really about all that I have. Did you have any questions about any of this? We are always delighted to be in the schools and working with our kids. You know, some of them are come from real struggles of home, and yet that connecting with them on a regular basis with our staff, but also with their big, has been a real highlight and a positive thing for them in their day. And that sometimes is the one day a week that we know that they're going to be at school, that they know their big is coming. I have been delighted to be a part of this organization for quite a long time now, and as 14 years as the director, and I would say our relationship has gotten better and stronger as over those years with the school district, because we do know that you guys get it, and we want to be there to help make a difference with these kids. They are our future, and that's what's going to make the difference, is us connecting with them when they're young and helping them to make good choices. So I greatly appreciate all of you have been a part of making the school district a fabulous place and allowing Big Brothers Big Sisters to be a part of that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn.
Well, and obviously, in the 18 years you've been with Big Brothers Big Sisters, 14 of which were as director, I mean, it's an incredibly strong program when you think about, I'm going to guesstimate, you know, serving maybe in the early days 100 kids to now it's up to 160 kids a year. I mean, that's making a significant positive impact on those young people, boys and girls, and a lot of that can be attributed to your leadership. So we have a small token of appreciation for you.
Thank you. I'm retiring, in case you didn't know that, the end of July, so. Oh, golly, thank you.
So thank you for everything that you've done for our kids.
Well, thank you. I greatly appreciate it. And thank you for being a big too.
Yeah,
So,
I've
yes,
enjoyed it.
if you would have any interest and want to know, if you need to know more about being a VIG, if you'd like to volunteer, he's a good source to connect with on it. So thank you. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations.
I'm old enough.
Stacy, you want to come on up and give us the health report?
All right. Okay. Gotta get my eyes on here too. Well, I'm happy to be here tonight to give the annual health report. I always enjoy sharing this data, and sometimes it seems kind of monotonous, but I'm always appreciative that you guys listen and always such support of our health offices. First of all, if you want to go to the slide. I'm just going to give an overview of some key areas of focus here. We're going to talk about student health trends, services provided, outcomes, challenges, and highlights. Okay, so as we look at here, 48% of our students list a health condition. That is pretty consistent with what we have always had in the past. Approximately half of our students report health condition, and this is through, our online registration and reported to us from parents. The scope of the student health needs across the district are pretty broad. Some of these are simply like vision needs, and some of them are obviously more extensive. The next slide provides a closer look at our chronic health conditions. It's a comparison of 2023-24 school year and this current year. And as you can see, not a lot of difference. ADHD generally has been our top diagnosis, and anxiety, asthma, staying about the same there. We did include autism this year, and as you can see, that's up just a smidge from what it was last year. One thing that stands out is our depression rates did go down a little bit. Previously, last year we reported higher rates than we had in the past. This could be, it could be caused by different things. It might be a positive trend. We would hope that it is, but there's several factors that could explain this change. It doesn't necessarily mean student mental health has changed. And that it has actually gone down a lot. It could be explained by graduation, school withdrawal, delayed or undocumented diagnosis, changes in how diagnoses are reported, privacy and stigma. So while the number labeled as depression has dropped slightly, the overall mental health needs of our students certainly remain significant. And of course, our nurses they work along in those support teams with our SRSs and guidance counselors and administrators and teachers to support those needs. The other thing we added on here is some developmental delays. We're tracking that, didn't have that tracked for last year. We could pull that up, but some of these, we decided we wanted to look at that. It does reflect on the cares that the nurses are giving in their buildings. And since we've restructured that some, we have we have more students with certain health needs in each, in specific buildings. So that is reflected in the number of health office visits and the acuity of care in those buildings. So some of the developmental and intellectual disabilities included like sensory integration, motor function disorders, global developmental delays, and varying levels of intellectual disability. And those would all fall under that developmental delay. And also some of the diagnoses like that are more complex, like Down syndrome, pervasive developmental disorders. And of course, those students would be ones that would be in our special ed programs and would require, obviously, IEPs. From a medical standpoint, we have students with seizure disorders, type 1 diabetes, both of which require closer daily monitoring, emergency preparedness, staff training to ensure our students' safety. The list reflects a broad scope of student health needs in our schools, physical, mental, and developmental. Each of these conditions requires planning, coordination, and ongoing care from our health staff. All right, and this is just a breakdown of our health office visits by building across the district. Comparatively, obviously in our larger buildings, you're seeing, the increased numbers. And some of our elementaries also, you see some bigger numbers as well. Again, that is not just, it's based on some of that we talked about in regards to it's not, visit totals are very based on number of students with chronic health conditions, in some cases students with behavioral or emotional needs who may frequently access the health office as part of their support plan. These numbers help us understand the demand placed on each health office and the staffing needs in those particular offices. Let's see here. In buildings with both high enrollment and greater concentration of medical complexity, the health office plays a critical daily role in keeping students healthy and safe and ready to learn. And in slide 6 here, it shows the total number of health office visits by building. No, excuse me, it's just broke down here. So this shows that we've had a total of 75,779 visits. And the main thing with this is looking at the fact that 97% of our students were able to stay at school, which is a pretty big deal. So it means that the vast majority of cases, they're cared for, supported, stabilized quickly, and then they're able to get back into their classrooms to be learning. So that is a pretty significant number right there. And it helps with our attendance rates too. All right, this year we decided to introduce a new data point. We were just looking at medications and we've always been able to pull this, but we're looking at some different things, trying to decide if we wanted to do some reporting on the effects of our PRN dosing and daily medication dosing. So this is just a breakdown, obviously, of the numbers that of PRN dosing at the top there. So Lenahan Miller in the high school, as you would know, during our registration, parents can give consent to take those medications. Our number one complaint in the health offices is a headache, which most generally you would probably guess that. Close second is stomach ache. And so sometimes those PRNs are needed in those buildings. Of course, we try other modes first, and then if that isn't working to relieve those symptoms, then we do the PRN medication dosing with a parent consent. And then you can see the breakdown of the daily medication administration per building. The number one medication that, medications that we give are obviously for our ADHD, and which, aligns with that high diagnosis of the ADHD. And the other medications, can be for seizure disorders, anxiety, depression. There's a whole scope of, asthma, of what we would be giving those other daily medications for. And then that total emergency medications, that was just, so if that would include like the stock medication that we have, we currently stock the Narcan and our EpiPens. And so just one of our stock EpiPens had to be given in one of our buildings this year. The other emergency medications were medications that students carry on them that were used. So that's what that breakdown is right there. Okay. All right. This slide highlights the health screenings that we conduct across the district. And obviously, we know that early identification of these concerns can affect student learning. We partner with the AEA to provide hearing screenings. Due to changes in the AEA coverage, we now only receive screenings for students with known hearing losses. Vision screenings are conducted through the KidSight program in partnership with the Lions Club. And these are required for kindergarten and third grade students. We also work with the Mike I Smile program to provide dental screenings, which are required for kindergarten and ninth grade. So if you see some of these screenings, nurses coordinate these screenings. They're done generally through the health office, and then we work with the families, for the referrals that are needed. And that'll be on the next slide. The referral process, it's fairly self-explanatory here. When a concern is identified, we notify parents and recommend follow-up with the healthcare provider. But sometimes we do also have, we have to connect them. Some families do not have providers already for dental care or vision care or hearing, and so we work with them to connect them to a provider as well. So, and then we don't just do that, but we generally then always follow up to make sure that those referrals were addressed. Okay. Oh, yes, so this is a great highlight. So our immunization audit compliance, of course, it's pretty awesome to see 100% all the way across. And as you guys know, immunizations are incredibly important. In order to get 100% compliance, all of your students have to have, have their record, or they have to have a waiver. That can be a religious waiver or it could be a medical waiver. And we do have those throughout the district. But all of our buildings this year, had everything that they needed in place. They had all of the records, including the students that had waivers. So this is a really great thing. I do attribute this to, obviously, our great nursing staff, but also we work very closely with Marshall County Public Health. And they have worked to... Sydney Gruwell and her nurse, they come into our buildings. They provide immunization clinics right there at school. They've gone out to homes and provided immunizations. So we are very fortunate to have that partnership, and we want to continue that with Marshall County Public Health, because that certainly is very important that we have our numbers up to keep everybody healthy and safe in our schools and in our community.
Stacy, question. What's TC? What are you referring to?
Oh, therapeutic classrooms.
Okay.
Sorry, yes, therapeutic classrooms.
Got it.
Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely. Yes, I should have that in parentheses there.
I don't think of that as a building, so then I was confused as what we were
Yeah,
talking about.
because they are separate, and when we do the audits and everything, they
Okay.
come up separately. Yep, okay, and this just talks about two of the areas that nurses support as well, with emergency health plans and also 504. Students that have asthma, seizures, if they're allergic to, if they have anaphylactic allergies, they would require a health plan. And this just shows, how throughout the district, how many there are in each building. And nurses also work with 504 teams, especially with students, obviously, that have diagnoses, and they work closely with those families to make sure that they can get the accommodations they need to be able to be in the classroom and be healthy and successful. Okay, health education and prevention. It's pretty self-explanatory here. The nurses, they do coordinate in the elementary schools. They do the 4th grade Changing Body program throughout the district, and then they also work on that. They actually provide the health curriculum. They disseminate it to the classrooms, K through 4. And at the high school, CAPS works closely with us for the sexual health classes that are provided in PE. And we work to get the consents. It's a very close, we work with the PE teachers, myself, and then our CAPS sexual health coordinator to make that all happen, and it's a great program. And then also some class hygiene talks, and then the MHS health, the health fair that we do every year with the awesome people that we have several different organizations that come and share great information with our high school students. And the staff training and CPR, which I'm going to go back to real quick and just highlight for a second, and then our CERP teams, and that's the cardiac emergency response teams. So we coordinate those in each building. Each building has one of those, and they are CPR trained and AED trained. And so we meet annually, and then we also go through and do drills so that we can make sure everyone is all on the same page if we have any emergencies. And then we do staff training on EpiPens and seizure training as well. I did want to highlight the CPR really quick. Nancy Pins and Mickey England do a great job of doing our CPR for our staff. Nancy shared with me that they taught 11 classes this year, and they had 76 participants. So we do the CPR for everyone that is required to have CPR in the district, which would be special education teachers and paras, preschool teachers and paras, health office staff, and coaches. So that is provided for our staff, and they do an awesome job. Right. And Medicaid. So nurses help to facilitate the Medicaid billing process in our district. Last year we had 107 students that we billed on, and we've worked with Timberline for the last 3 years, and at 6 years. And this coming school year we will be working with ClaimAid, and we look forward to that change. And I think that will go smoothly. The nurses, along with teachers and our paras, do that billing, and it's all done online, which is a pretty smooth process.
Is that a pretty consistent number each year, that
is,
107
yes.
or so?
Yep, we stay right in that range. Absolutely. Yep. Okay, attendance. Again, I'm not going to read through all this, but the nurses are part of the attendance teams in each building, and I know some of our nurses have done home visits. They do a lot of communication with our students that are chronically absent due to illness, and we do want to looking ahead, we want to track more closely what exactly we have done to, the phone calls and each of those communications. We want to track that a little closer so we can kind of see, get some more comprehensive data on that for next year. Okay. And here's a list of our health office staff. And so we have 10 registered nurses and 5 health aides. The exciting thing, and I know I'm going to talk about it more in the next slide. If you want to go to that next slide, Amy, that'd be great. So our staffing and coverage. So the addition this year of our full-time float nurse position, it's been an incredible valuable asset for our student health services. 55% of her time has supported coverage for building nurses during absences or illness. And then the other half of her time are those other responsibilities that she has helped with. And it has made a tremendous impact on the services that we can provide for our students in our building, and for our buildings to not go without nurse coverage. As you can see with the needs that we have with our students with the multiple diagnoses, having a nurse in that building is so incredibly important, and this has helped us to be able to provide that, and so that has been a great asset for us. We're very thankful. All right. This is kind of just going again on our community partnerships. I always just really like to give a shout out to these people. Without this group of people, boy, we would struggle. So we are very grateful to have the support and the partnerships with MICA, the Iowa Kids Site, and the Lions Club, AEA, our Marshall County Public Health, CAPS, MICA, and all the other agencies that help to support and educate our students and to provide services for us. And some challenges. So, I thought I want to just mention quickly, so some challenges for us, family involvement. As we know, that is the family engagement can be difficult, and I know can have lots of different reasons. Engaging families, for us to try to get a hold of families when we're trying to work with students that have some chronic health needs, sometimes that can be a struggle. Obviously, we know factors like busy schedules, cultural and communication barriers, limited resources can all be factors in that. Another challenge for us is mental health demands, and that speaks for itself. And so we want to work closely with our counselors. We work closely with them and our SRSs and our administrative team and teachers to help provide whatever we can in that support role. And then our preventative care gaps, and that's just an area of focus I'm going to talk about briefly here, just for the fact it'll go to our next slide. Those preventative care gaps come into place because we have many students that do not have insurance, not private insurance, and they don't qualify for Medicaid. So the grants that we just talked about, that STEP grant, that Rotary grant, those have been key for us to be able to provide some of those medical services for those students. So they're identified as needing glasses or dental care, and we are able to help to provide that through a screen, and then possibly glasses or dental care as needed. And we have been able to collaborate with local dental offices as well as eye care associates to provide that. The one thing that has happened with us for with our vision. We always had worked with VSP, and that was a wonderful program that if we were members of the National Association of School Nurses, we automatically got these free vouchers that we could use for free eye exam and glasses. And that is on pause, and it's been on pause for a little over a year now, and I don't know if that's coming back. So that is why we really needed to step in with this grant money to be able to fill those cracks for those students. As you know, obviously, being able to see is critical for learning. And a number one thing, if you look nationally, dental care. Students don't come to school when they are suffering from, dental cavities and they're in pain. So it's very important that we can help to provide that. And we're very grateful for those grants. Right? Does anybody have any questions for me? I know I kind of rambled on. Any questions?
Stacy, thank you for your ongoing leadership with our nursing corps. They're an outstanding group.
Yes, we do have a great group, and we are very grateful to you, Dr. Schutte, and the board for always all the supports that you provide for us to help keep our students healthy. Thank you.
Thank you, great
Thank you,
information, I
Stacey.
appreciate it.
Hello. I'm excited to be here. I haven't really had a chance to talk to you guys all. Usually when I was here, Matt Kretzinger would do all the talking, and I just got to sit here and let him talk. So I'm a little on the nervous side. So if I ramble, I apologize. All right, so I am Nicole Gahn. I am the District Behavior Strategist and BCBA for Marshalltown. I came here in 2012 as a high school BD teacher. And then I transitioned to my current position in 2016. I have a master's in learning and behavior disabilities, and I'm also a BCBA, which I'll talk about in a minute, so if you're like, what's that? And I'm also a mom to a wonderful 4-year-old that I have a picture of covered in mud. So he is so fun. All right, now what we're gonna discuss today is some of the services we're providing are students who have the highest needs in our district. So the tippy top of the triangle, and what my role does, and then also our collaboration with Access Clinics. So my role as a school-based BCBA, I work as a referral basis for preschool through high school. So when a school team's struggling with a student on an IEP, they request my help, and then I come in and I consult about behavior strategies. I model strategies for paras and teachers. I also do behavioral assessments and support and data collection. I also do some professional development, so that can look like one-on-one coaching for teachers, and also building-wide and even district-wide training for paras and or teachers. So that's me. What is a BCBA? I promised I'd tell you. So a BCBA is a board-certified behavior analyst. So that's a graduate level professional in applied behavior analysis. Just to give a couple numbers so you kind of get a view of it, there's 290 BCBAs in Iowa and 67,531 in the United States, and only 11.8 BCBAs in education. Most BCBAs work in private clinics. So it's really exciting that we are supporting this kind of role in our school. I also oversee registered behavior technicians, or RBTs, behavior technicians. We have 2 roles within this district. One we just filled at the very end of the year, so I'm excited to do that. So this is me, and I collaborate with a lot of different people and groups, but tonight we're gonna focus on my collaboration with Access, the ABA services. So what is ABA? So ABA is applied behavior analysis. It's a data-driven, evidence-based approach used to help individuals on the autism spectrum and other developmental conditions. It really focuses on breaking down skills into small, manageable steps and reinforcing positive behavior, so it encourages students to learn and develop skills that maybe are really hard for them. It addresses everything from communication, social skills, daily living skills, emotional regulation, play and leisure skills, to behavior management, so managing those maladaptive behaviors that get in the way of their success. So our collaboration with Access Therapy Centers, which is a multidisciplinary clinic for children and adolescents. They provide services for people who have autism and other developmental disabilities. Insurance mostly only covers autism, though, and so those are the services that they primarily provide. But they serve ABA, speech therapy, OT, feeding therapy, and so on. And what we're doing now for our school, so if you go to the next slide, we are currently serving 8 students with our collaboration of Access Therapy. And so they receive so each student receives approximately 12 hours of services weekly with Access staff. It's individualized interventions, one-on-one support throughout their normal schedule. So they're not getting pulled out of any kind of instruction. It's happening on their normal schedule. The Access team supports in creating goal areas, developing intervention plans, social skills instruction, and some coaching and modeling. I put a little quote in here. I have a couple quotes throughout just so you can hear what special ed teachers are saying about it. This teacher says that, she can't say enough good about it, and she really appreciates their collaboration. So the impact of ABA services, so really thinking, and I'm going to have some graphs that show this in a little bit, but increasing functional communication, so having students be able to communicate their needs and wants, reducing the maladaptive behaviors that get in the way of learning, gains in academic and social skills, and also some important self-regulation strategies. So a lot of things that were really exciting to work on, and I'm going to show individual graphs moving forward of students. And so our first graph is of a student receiving services, and the x-axis, so the horizontal axis, is over time. The y-axis, so the vertical axis line, is percent correct, so how many times they've done this. And baseline, the first chunk that you see on the graph, is how many times the student requested help. So either vocally using their voice or a device that they would push buttons to ask for help. So initially, the student was not asking for help at all. Instead, this behavior looked like hitting, yelling, or running away because he didn't have a way to ask for what he needed. So after instruction happens, you can see there's that line. It's starting to increase, and it's up at about 80% now, happening quite a bit throughout his day, which is also helping decrease some of those more challenging behaviors for the school team. So that's really exciting to see. Our next graph is looking at, this is now we want to look, our goal is to go down now. So this is active refusal. This student, he spent over an hour a day hiding under his desk and wasn't able to, he would say no, he'd cry, he just would not do any work. So you can see baseline is all over the place, but pretty high overall. After instruction, after a little bit of instruction, it started to go down, and now he's not engaging in active refusal at all. So that's really exciting because now he's getting that instruction academically, and he's not engaging in those other behaviors. So for this kid, that's really amazing. The next graph is mouthing, so putting any non-edible objects into his mouth for this kid. And so we have baseline percent of opportunities, so how much he was doing it. Pretty much 100% of the time, he was putting objects into his mouth. This is a safety issue, as you can imagine, if it's toxic, he doesn't understand the differences, and also if it's small, it could become a choking hazard. So this was the focus area, and we've decreased after instruction quite a bit. We also advocated for a dentist appointment, and that has helped as well, we think. All right. Then our next graph, and this is the last one, I don't want to bore you too much on graphs, is elopement. So this student was running around the room, running outside of the room, in the building, and even dangerously leaving the building and running into the parking lot and streets. So this is a very troublesome behavior that we really wanted to address. So you can see the baseline, pretty high at some points throughout the day and after instruction, and now he's gotten to the point where he hasn't engaged in that behavior for a couple months. So that's pretty amazing for this kid. All right, so another little quote from a teacher, basically just saying, you know, the student that she's working with the school, the Access team in, has made enormous progress, and she doesn't think that it could have happened without the collaboration. Celebrations. So, like for one, a student went from barely saying one word and using mostly gestures to communicate to now he is using 3+ word phrases. And the collaboration with the Access staff has went really well. Our special ed teachers and our paras have really taken to that and have appreciated that support. Safety, if you imagine some of the behaviors I went over, can be a safety risk. That has increased now. Appropriate communication and participation in academic instruction has also increased. So some really great things that are happening. Another quote, just talking about the positive impact that has been made in a teacher's classroom from this collaboration. Plans moving forward. So today was the first day and I was there. It's extended school year services for our students. 7 of our students are receiving this over the summer. They'll receive 8 weeks of ABA therapy. And it will also have the opportunity for parents to have training. So they will come in when their child is receiving this and can have the opportunity to get training. I had a parent in tears, just so happy and relieved to get some kind of help for his son. So it's very exciting. And I'm really excited to see the growth of our students over the summer. So then as the school year starts for next year, we will be doing, the Access team will doing more training for our school staff and on each student and the procedures that are helpful for those students. And then our goal is to fade the Access staff off of those students and then move on to other students. And so that way more students can get these benefits. All right, what questions do you guys have?
What's the max number of students? I know earlier there was...
Yeah, we're currently serving 8, 7 for ESY. We don't have a max number. It's really about how many staff Access can provide over here. And right now we're probably at our max, about 8, just because it takes a lot of their staff to come over and provide services. So,
how many students do we have that need this that aren't getting it today?
That is a little bit like, you know, it's hard to say exactly. School teams will put out a referral and request for ABA services, and then we'll go through risk assessments of where we're going to get it. I would say currently requests are about in the 40 range that that teams have said, I think my student would benefit from these services, and so are on the wait list.
Other questions from anybody?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Shauna, do you want to help with this curriculum, aiming up curriculum? I think it's pretty self-explanatory with the item. Originally, this was in the consent agenda, and I felt like it should be pulled out into a standalone, but Amy evidently couldn't be here. So they are requesting the purchase of Number Worlds by McGraw-Hill as a supplemental math curriculum.
It's an extension of Reveal. So Reveal that we have in
specifically
Gen Ed.
for our special education students, K-12. The annual cost for the licensing, and which would be for the electronic licensing and also or access, and reproducible materials is $35,023.68, and that will be covered through the special education budget.
The total shows 34,234.
I think there's a typo.
Oh, okay.
So the reveal doesn't support special ed, or
So
it does, but they're just used to this, so they want to keep using it?
no, this is Reveal. This
Okay.
is the special education resources for, that coincide with Reveal. And we
Okay.
actually have these in place. This is more of them. So this is, we've already done like coaching around Number Worlds. I know that it's been really well received. I have not had a chance to talk to Amy Knapp about this specific purchase. I know that if Lisa Pegler and Amy are on board with it, then it's definitely necessary and it'll be excellent for our kids.
And I think it's an annual license, so they're wanting to continue what's already been in
Yep.
place this year.
Yep.
Right, I took it that this was a renewal of something that we currently are utilizing, not
We
a,
are
not a
using.
new, yeah.
No, right. Yep. Which might have been why it was on the consent agenda.
Any other questions? Is there a motion to approve the 25-26 math curriculum Number Worlds as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Morales Faltus, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello.
Hi, I feel like we were just here last time. I'm Jenny Allen. I'm the Curriculum and Professional Development Leader for College and Career Readiness.
Justin Bolivar, Principal at Marshtown High School. Good evening.
Go back one slide, Amy. Thanks.
So we're excited to talk with you tonight about something that plays a big role in helping our students prepare for life after high school, both in the classroom and beyond. We'll be sharing an overview of our district career and academic plan. You may have heard of that, called DCAP, along with the student level version. You may have heard of this one as Individual Career and Academic Plan, or ICAP. At its core, this is a plan about helping students discover who they are, what they're interested in, and how they can turn those interests into meaningful opportunities after graduation. Whether it's through career exploration activities, goal setting, or making connections to future education and training, the DCAP and ICAP are designed to guide students through those important steps. We're proud of the work happening across our district to make these experiences meaningful and personalized for every student, and we're looking forward to sharing some of that with you here tonight.
I'm a little bit nervous as I look up at that presentation because that appears to be our old presentation.
I was gonna say, it says April 3rd of 24.
Of 24. Yeah, ours is the right one. I'm just worried that they don't have the updated one. I sent it to Maria, but I wonder if I accidentally linked the wrong one. Can I send it? Yeah. Sorry.
I could read the second slide.
Keep it going.
I want to meet our time limit, so if you look at individual career and the academic plan, so this work is incredibly important because it will help us ensure that every student has a sense of direction when they graduate. When students have a plan, one that reflects who they are and what they're working toward, it builds confidence, strengthens their sense of identity, and supports their overall well-being. Having that connection between career planning and social emotional growth is powerful, and it's something we're really intentional about supporting. And then the state of Iowa has guided this work through the Iowa Administrative Code 28149, is referenced up above. And then House File 2392, which was also referenced above. And this system has integrated approach to deliver career guidance built upon meaningful student activities and experiences aligned to both students' interests, local, regional, and the state labor market needs.
Perfect. I just want to say that's what happens when you have a teacher come back from summer and she's trying to multitask, so sorry about that. Okay, so the ICAP helps make sure that every student is on track for the future that fits them. It ensures that by the time they graduate, they've not only completed core curriculum, but also mapped out the courses and experience they need in high school to support their goals after graduation, whether that's college, training, the workforce, or the military. It also guides students through 5 key components of career and academic planning, all of it on a timeline that makes sense for them. And finally, the ICAP ensures that each student gets the support they need to understand and complete the FAFSA, opening the door to financial aid for more post-secondary options. Next slide. As part of the ICAP, students work through 5 components that help their planning: self-understanding, which is reflecting on their interests, skills, and values; career information, which is exploring a wide range of career options and pathways; academic planning, selecting coursework and experiences that align with goals; post-secondary exploration, learning about different education and training options after high school; and career and post-secondary decision-making, setting goals and making informed decisions. At the end of the 2022 legislative session, 2 important updates were made on the Iowa's ICAP requirements. First, as a district, we're now required to include work-based learning as part of their career and academic planning. This ensures that students have opportunities to connect what they're learning at school with real-world experiences. Second, the update requires that districts clearly outline when students are advised on completing the FAFSA. This step makes sure that every student has access to financial support they need for education and training after high school. So that all leads, the ICAP is all part, is the student experience, where the DCAP is kind of our district plan, what we do at a district level. So the district career and academic plan serves as a roadmap for how we support students through the career and academic planning process. It's grounded in state requirements, as Justin said, outlined in Code 281, but more importantly, it's a living document. It helps plan and shape the needs of our students in our community. Twice a year, our district DCAP team comes together to review and refine the career exploration and planning activities happening at each grade level. This team includes administrators, counselors, instructional coaches, CTE teachers, and a few team members who bring unique dual perspective as both educators and parents. The district plan creates a framework for each student's ICAP experience. It ensures that students are doing what they are doing individually is connected to a broader, wider district vision. By design, every district plan must include a clear outline of the career and academic planning activities for grades 8 through 12. And just to mention, ours goes K through 12, so we have a K-12 ICAP and DCAP. It also requires that we have an alignment with the district's comprehensive school improvement plan and the school counseling plan, a designed team responsible for coordinating, implementing, and reviewing the plan, and ensures that all activities are meaningful and aligned with workforce needs using labor market data. To support this work, each district selects a state-approved career information system, or a CIS system, that fits the needs of our students. And I've talked about this before, but in our district, we adopted Zello in 2020. And this remains as our tool that we use to help students explore careers, set goals, and track their progress over time. And okay, so this is just a picture, and I think I've showed this picture before, but this is Zello. This is our CIS system that we use. It helps kids track their ICAP plan and helps us track our DCAP plan. So it is an interactive web-based curriculum that students get on multiple times throughout the year, and we've added different things to it throughout the year, or throughout our time, the last 5 years, to help students access things more easily. So this is just kind of what it looks like in second grade, in the middle level, and then 3-5, and then 6-8. So it kind of grows with the students, which is kind of cool. So this is the focus that Zello has for the different grade levels. So in K2, they focus on self-awareness, basic career exploration. In 3-5, skills, strengths, and career awareness. In 6-8, exploring the early goal setting. 9-12, post-secondary planning and readiness. So that's just kind of their focus areas. And one of the great things about Zello is it doesn't just help our students plan, it also creates a clear, easy to understand report that provide valuable insights to us as a DCAP team. These reports are also available to teachers and families. So this is what a family could see or a teacher could see about a student. So it's kind of neat. These reports show students' interests, strengths, goals, and progress. It also helps students, educators, and parents stay connected with the work that students are doing. Having shared information makes it easier and to have meaningful conversations and make informed decisions for the students. In 2025, so earlier this spring, we expanded our Zello platform, and then we've now moved our work-based learning to Zello, and our Silver Cord hours, our volunteer hours, are now also housed in Zello. So using the data, so as part of our continuous improvement process, we use data and a rubric scores from the DCAP review as valuable guides. So we just went and reviewed our DCAP last week. We haven't got our scores yet, but we had our scores from last year to guide our work for this year. So this year we focused on 4 main areas: the district plan summary statement of our DCAP, the 4-year plan development and yearly review, the district plan integration, and essential component 5. And we chose to focus on these 4 areas because these were still in the developing stage of our rubric when we got our feedback. Most of that was because we didn't include enough information for outsiders to understand what we were truly doing. So a lot of it was just writing summaries, including more student reflections, things like that. So hopefully, we hope to get our score back in the next couple weeks. Hopefully we'll have grown from developing in those areas. So that's kind of our focus area for this past year. And then the new data is gonna help us set our focus area for next year.
The last thing I want to share is that our DCAP work is truly ongoing. On June 11th, Adam Van Arkel.
Oops, sorry. I fixed this because I didn't think you were gonna make it.
Justin Bolivar and Jenny Allen attended a state workshop, and that's what she was talking about. We took a deeper dive into the DCAP rubric, and then we had an opportunity to collaborate with professionals from other districts and even practice scoring plans together. This was a state's first attempt at bringing several principals from all over just different districts. And so we all sat down for the very first time. My whole group of principals never scored a DCAP before. So we were all learning what we need to look for, what that looks like. And so the state was there.
The AEA, the Central Rivers, or all different AEAs were there. Yeah.
So there was a lot of new learning just in scoring those DCAPs too. So we were told that the AEA would kind of hit a few of those and look over those and just kind of check those out. But anyway, so that was a whole new process for this year. So that will be another new thing coming down the road where our peers will be scoring these DCAPs. So just wanted you to know that too. We do believe this is a continuous improvement process. It's absolutely grounded in data, collaboration, and a shared vision. The key is helping every student in our district build a future they feel excited and prepared for. Thank you for your time and continued support.
Questions?
How do we get those profile reports to parents?
The Zello profile, it's in the parent portal.
So they have to go into that?
Yeah, they have to go into that and to look in it, yeah.
And we send them the information and a link to get into that?
Yep, that's in, I think it comes through Infinite Campus, like an Infinite Campus message. It's in their, what is it that students have? I don't even know.
Remind?
Bookmarks.
What they have to sign on, the one click or whatever, however the students sign on now. That's how the students get to it, but parents would have to log in under that code. Yeah, we sent an email out. Thank you. ClassLink, thank you. We sent an email out when we first opened it up to parents, but that's probably definitely something we need to do multiple times a year.
Was it to all parents?
I believe so. That went out through Infinite, like the Infinite Campus list. I don't know how all that works. It just, Dave does that for me.
Okay.
because I haven't seen anything.
It would have been like, probably like 16 months ago, 17 months ago.
I wouldn't have remembered.
So we probably need to do that again.
Anything else? Okay. Thank you.
No, thank you.
It's the work-based learning. You're next.
I said it's like going up here without our parent or something. Feels.
My name is Dawson Rimmensnyder. I'm an at-risk teacher at MLA.
Katie Mummer, MLA English, and then next year I'll be at the high school.
All right, so the course was combined for career readiness for branding, public relations, and media literacy. So the main purpose of it is to kind of help the students understand different situations in a workplace, versus social, professional, how to interview, how to write a resume, all of those different things. That way they can, go out, get a job. They understand that, if you're disgruntled at work, if you're having a problem or anything, how can you, navigate that professionally, as that is something that a lot of our students struggle with, which also we've found that becomes a problem when they are looking to get a job. They don't even really know always where to start with the resume, how the, interview process may go, so on and so forth. So some of the core units and themes are communication and collaboration in the workplace, customer service expectations, employee first culture, and interview skills and workplace etiquette. All right, so again, how to work with a team. We had a various amount of different projects and assignments that would start with different prompts. Some would be, how are you going to market something? And then some would also be, you're selling a product as like a salesperson, or you're working for that company as a customer service representative. And if somebody, has a problem, they send you an email, regardless of how, unruly or cruel they may be, you have to remain professional. And that was something that was interesting to hear, like some of our students in the heat of the moment be like, well, I would say this. And it's, all right, what does that really do? Does that help the situation? So on and so forth. Katie did a really good job taking the class and customizing it, as it was built for a mainly online class that the students would take throughout, their own time. We built it as a blended class that we actually offered a full credit for, because it did everything for the elective credit and also for English credit, because they were expected to work around an hour and a half, 2 hours outside of class each day as well, because we stuffed a semester class in 8 weeks. So it was something that showed that they were able to be responsible, work outside of class, come together as a group as well, which was good.
So I kind of stepped in, like Dawson said. The original class is an ICEV class, and it is the class that Southwest Airlines has their customer service employees take, and it's really boring. So it was a lot of like online, it's just really dry. It's meant for maybe more adult audiences. So if there's one thing people know about me, it's if I can make it about Taylor Swift, I'm going to. So we took the class and started thinking like, okay, what if we put the students in these workplace scenarios? Now you work for a PR firm or something like that. So they started out researching Taylor Swift's brand evolution, not as a fan of her music, but as like someone in the business world analyzing how is she so wildly successful. So they looked into brand evolution. They looked at public image. What does it actually take to control public image? Fan engagement strategies. Why are they successful? A lot of like online use and what does it mean to be a responsible member of like an online community. Response plans for media crises, tour cancellations, things like that. And then they kind of studied her and her team and her brand over many years. And they did really in-depth research on specific eras, specific albums, what were like the aesthetics of the album, why did that make sense for the time period, how did that, you know, go against maybe her personal identity in the past, all of those things. So they're really then looking at it from like a marketing standpoint. And then we had them, on the next slide, there's some task examples. So we were really able to get the students writing in a more meaningful way. Like this, you're going to have to write emails and you're going to have to write memos and you're going to have to, like Dawson said, respond in various situations. So they did a lot of research and informative writing using a lot of digital sources to support their analysis. They're used to using text, but getting them to pull things from the internet that aren't as traditional, I guess. And then synthesize their findings. So they did a lot of creating their own. They created their own brand pitch as their final project for an artist. What would their album look like for a new release? What would the promo look like for that? What would merchandising look like? All of that. Then they did some argumentative and crisis response writing. They wrote mock press releases. And with that, like Dawson said, sometimes our students are quick to respond off the cuff. So we had to spend some time looking at tone and audience awareness, persuasive techniques, and what they actually might use in a workplace for customer service situations. And then, of course, speaking and presentation. So they did a lot of career reflecting, visual advertising pitches, and brand identity walkthroughs. So again, creating this identity for an established artist, creating the identity for an album that does not exist yet. So there was actually a lot of analysis that went into that in a non-traditional way. So we have here a sample assignment. This was a real issue with the Eras Tour, with Ticketmaster canceling the pre-sale. And that was a huge ordeal. Many millions of fans very, very upset. And so they had to go through using the ICEV curriculum and go through the problem-solving process. So just find the problem, determine the cause, identify solutions, implement the solution, and then evaluate it over time. They had to describe each part of the scenario and then write a proposal outlining their plan for solving the problem. So we set it up for them, like if you're gonna go to your boss with a solution, you need to be able to explain not only what the problem is and what the solution is, but how you know it's going to work. The next slide, this is a student work sample. This student created, if you see at the bottom there, Sincerely Swiftie Styles. That does not exist, that was her fake company. But responding to a disgruntled patron fan of Taylor Swift who was upset because of the way that the ticket resales were handled. So she, again, had to identify what the problem was, and then in corporate legalese speak, try to solve it. And a lot of students wanted to just throw things at the fans, like, well, let's just give them all tickets to the next tour. And I'm like, okay, well, that's nice, but it's not going to work. So they really had to think through this in a more adult and professional way. This student made, well, all of them did, but this student made an infographic that could be hung up in an office talking about the importance and how to develop cultural diversity in the workplace. So they got different topics, each student had a different one, and they went out, did their research, and then made an infographic that could be hung in like a lounge, set out in a newsletter, something like that. So you've got all kinds of great topics on here, talking about greater innovation, looking to the future of the company. If we celebrate cultural diversity, where could this go for us? Bias training, what kind of training would staff need in order to be able to do this work? Things like that. And then why this matters, I can talk about that a little bit from the English perspective, and then Dawson can talk about it from the elective side. But it really engaged students in professional writing, we don't have very many opportunities to do that in a way that students don't dread. But giving them a problem, letting them pick the artist that they're already passionate about, and then have them develop something for that artist was great. We were really able to do a lot of more authentic writing, but also reading, research, things like that, looking at what kinds of sources do we have, are they biased, like People magazine is probably not the best source when we're looking at, the impact of a global pop star. Maybe we should look somewhere else. And then getting them to connect all of this back to the ICEV class in a more structured way was great.
Yeah, so each unit had like a final exam that was mandatory to do and pass with a 70% or greater to get the actual certification. So all the students that passed the final exam, the cumulative exam, that's 100 questions, 2-hour time limit. It was pretty intense for a lot of them. We had 9 students that passed that, so they will actually have that Southwest certification that they can put on their resume, the same exact one that all of the employees from that company get. So that's something that shows that they're, very literate and professional communication, and they understand how to handle that. And it was interesting to see how, Katie built a lot of these very unique assignments, but they were still able to pull away the main idea to pass those tests pretty easily. So it just showed that creativity to be able to kind of navigate around some of that more dry material can still, allow that student to pull the main ideas out of it as well. Do you guys have any questions for us?
Was there credential tied to this too?
Yeah. Yep.
So even though you adjusted it to be more student friendly, they still met whatever qualifications needed?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they were responsible for doing the ICEV coursework, which was, I think the slideshows for each lesson were like 100 slides. So they were responsible for that. When we were hitting, again, like Dawson said, we crammed a longer course into this shorter time period. So they were doing those probably every day with a study guide and a test attached. So then on top of that work, they also had to do the English work. So we did have a few students who maybe didn't get the credential, but they did the English component. So they were able to check those standards. And then vice versa. There were some students who were like, I don't need an English credit. Like I already did all my English stuff. So we still had them do, I would say probably like 98% of the English coursework anyway, just as, that's part of your grade, you're required. But they maybe didn't do the final English project because they had already passed their certification at that point and they didn't want the English credit. Imagine that.
Yeah, the ICEV online portion was majority outside of class. That was just kind of like our base for what we did in class, a lot of the projects, assignments and things. And then, they had a study guide due every other day over that 100 slides, which was why it was pretty impressive to see the amount of students that actually would come in and be prepared, because that's quite a chunk of time for them to do outside of class.
It was also our longest block of seminar time that I think we've done in a really long time. We met for about an hour and a half every day, and we had fairly consistent attendance. It also gave Dawson and I an opportunity to look at how are we structuring more direct instruction at MLA, and are there ways that we can further enhance what we're already doing, like using more of a flipped model. They're getting the direct stuff out of the way, the reading out of the way at home, and then they come in and they can do the application in class. So that was also, we played a lot with how we were going to structure things and stuff like that.
Very creative way to get those credits. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you. So they're not staying with you for
Right? Yeah.
No moral support?
No moral support. Yeah, well, good evening. So I guess the nice thing to follow up and on that is all of those students got an industry credential, which is now reflecting in Infinite Campus and goes towards their career-ready indicators for Bobcat Ready, which is one of the reasons we launched that, is to help give kids those step-ups in their pursuit of careers and being career-ready. So this is the first of many of the attendance center plans that you're going to see. Mine is live and in person because I won't be here in August to come to the board to speak to you about that. So here's the district goals and mission that we're all aligned to with where we're at. So MVA core values really were related to a commitment to high academic standards and a personalized experience, continuing to have meaningful relationships with students despite the fact that we were in a virtual environment, and to find a way to support the mental, emotional, and physical health of our students, even in an online environment. So our metrics that we really were focused on this past year were increasing engagement with the curriculum, working on increasing participation in Bobcat Ready, work-based learning, college classes. The state has redefined work-based learning, kind of has raised the bar of what work-based learning is. That provided some challenges for us, but we were able to do some things to help our students. We were trying to reduce chronic absenteeism in the virtual world, which we did show some growth there, and then show growth on the state report card as compared to other virtual schools in the state. So as we look at MVA's goals, there we go. For the MVA side, to reduce chronic absenteeism by 10%, MVA itself was able to meet this measure. I know in the newspaper they posted the MLA and MVA percentages together, and they showed a decrease in chronic attendance. MVA was largely responsible for probably the biggest portion of that decline. So we have continue in our intake meetings to stress the importance of consistent engagement and screening people. I meet with every new family before they go to MVA. We don't want anybody in MVA who's hiding out to drop out, just avoiding the accountability of those in-person interventions and things. So I will, after 4 weeks, if a student isn't engaging, I will pull that parent back in and have a meeting. And then we're talking about which of our in-person options are probably best for that student at that time. So those interventions helped with the reduction of chronic absenteeism on the MVA side. We were looking to increase by 10% the number of students, Bobcat Ready indicators. One of our big struggles here is data collection. We're trying to get kids to let us know some of the things they've done. Some of them aren't terribly responsive. I think the state upping the ante on work-based learning was a factor in us not meeting that 10% goal. It's interesting on the MVA side. I would estimate that 80% of our 11th and 12th graders are working full-time or part-time, with a lot of kids working full-time positions. And they're doing their school in the evenings and on weekends. That's a pretty rough way to go. If you've ever known someone that was a non-traditional college student and trying to go to college and work and support themselves, and the stress that is for an adult, and then you have a teenager trying to pull that off too. That's really difficult. But we do see a lot of that, and most of that is for economic necessity. It isn't driven by choice. We have seen an increase in the number of students taking the AccuPlacer assessment. So we are getting more kids placed into the MCC dual enrollment classes, mostly on the online side. But we are seeing kids go out for nurse aid, welding, construction tech, and those other programs that MCC has. So as far as the third goal is concerned, we were hoping to increase our total points on the state report card. Unfortunately, we don't have that data yet, so I had to take kind of the goal indicators off that. We did have a better performance this year on the ISAS compared to last year, especially in English language arts. We had more advanced proficient students than we've had in previous years in English language arts. So that was good to see in the preliminary reports that you can view in the on-demand portal. Our ELL and special education subgroups had lower performance on ISAS than general ed students, and the full report card yet is not available for 24-25, unfortunately. So we only have 24 there. So highlights for MVA so far this year, we have more graduates pending. We have several kind of in the final stages here, but so far we've had 30 MVA graduates out of our senior class. Our IEP student graduation rate increased substantially this year, and I would give credit to Paula Johnson for her work in that area. And our gen ed team is very responsive to accommodations and modifications for kids, even in the virtual world, which can be kind of hard. So I think that's a data point worth celebrating. In 2024, in the Conditions for Learning survey, which we did not give this year, MVA was well above the state average in measures of adult-student relationships. So our kids are liking the format and the interaction that they're having with their teachers. Some of them don't interact much with their teachers, and some of them interact a fair amount. But I know as principal, I would get a lot of emails from kids about just routine stuff, but they were very active online about how many credits do I have, am I where I should be, what do you think my next class should be, what electives do you think I should take, and I'd have to probe a little further, you know. Do you see yourself going to four-year college? Do you see yourself going to two-year college? And just reminding kids that high school graduation requirements are basic requirements. They don't necessarily make you college ready, you know. So if you want to go into engineering, you better be in the higher level math. You need to be in the higher level science. Those kinds of conversations to really guide kids in the right direction. So NVA's future, the program continues to grow. We right now, it looks like, have about 110 carryover kids for next year. I think last year at this time, we had about 75 to 80 carryover kids. So we kind of just keep nudging that number up a little bit. 30 graduates with probably 5 or 6 more to come is a legitimate number and is a strong contribution to the district's overall mission. So really pleased with that. I think we are getting to the point where we are getting stability in our teaching staff. We have a number of part-time people, many of them who work remotely, but we are getting to the place that those folks are pretty engaged and pretty savvy about their online work, and I'm really pleased with how they're coming along. If I were to stay, I guess something I would focus on next year is we need to get mobile science kits out for kids to do labs. We have to come up with a way to do that in a cost-effective, educationally meaningful manner. Probably MLA and MVA We've been authorized a bilingual attendance specialist, but it's been very difficult to hire that position. But I think that would be helpful for more effective intervention when attendance is faltering. And continue to empower the administrator to make enrollment decisions in the best interest of students. It would be a big factor. So sliding over to MLA, and I get extra time because I have 2 schools, right? So.
Well, plus it's your last one.
Plus my last one, so yeah, I'll try not to indulge your time too much here. I think one of the strengths in our core values at MLA, and you see those listed there, is I think the staff has been universally committed to building strong professional relationships with kids. As you heard Dawson and Katie speak, they do maintain pretty rigorous expectations for alternative school kids around core academic standards, but we're very flexible in how we meet those standards. And that flexibility then leads to that increased level of engagement, which kind of taps into that hidden potential that a lot of these kids have that we've never really been able to bring out before. So the growth opportunities for MLA, and I'm not exactly sure how to impact this, our students lack a clear future orientation. Almost universally. They think of college as something for that kid that lives around the corner. They just don't see themselves in those ways, and they haven't had a lot of familial role models that have done that. That's not true for every kid, but it's true for a lot of our kids. That sometimes can lead to lower achievement, decreased motivation, and then you start to build a transcript that leads to limited post-secondary opportunities. So we have to just find a way as a system to continue to impact that mindset within our kids and within our families. If we can do that, we can make a difference for a lot of kids. When we've been able to do that, it's super labor-intensive work. It's hand over hand. Like, you need to take a kid to DMAC to go see a program for something that they want to do. And you take them on a tour to somewhere strange, and they are literally scared to death. They just don't see themselves there. They don't know what to expect. They don't know what it's going to be. And so it's important that a trusted adult from MLA is there with them when we do that. And that has made a difference in getting kids to matriculate to some technical programs that lead to jobs with livable wages, future-ready jobs. So our power metrics, we're seeing growth in our career-ready sub-indicator for Bobcat Ready. So we, again, getting the data where it belongs has been super important, but we have seen some growth, like launching the Southwest Airlines Industry Credential Program. Leaving high school with an industry credential is one of the indicators in Career Ready. Not mentioned tonight, but we also had a student pass I believe the Safe Serve certification program by doing an ICVE class that I believe Dawson facilitated. So we've been getting a lot better about being creative and using what I call non-conventional ways to tap into hands-on authentic learning tasks, which I think was illustrated here tonight. Tech Math, Dave Carpenter has been very successful in making math come alive, doing a lot of small little construction projects and things. We had a young man build a set of cornhole boards that are really, really sharp that I think are going to be up at the cafeteria, the Bobcat Cafe in the fall. So, but, applying the technical math, the measuring, the cutting, the estimating, the budgeting, of doing a project and in tucking all that math in. So goals, I think we did meet our goal of trying to increase the level of authoring of authentic learning experiences. We continue to keep what we have. We've had our hydroponic stuff going and other things, but we continue to try to add to that tool bag to keep kids interested. We have some growth opportunities there too, and someone will get to work on those challenges. By spring of 2025, we'll show growth in the number of students graduating with Bobcat Ready. Bobcat Ready is the right work. All of the things tucked in there are really strong indicators of what we want to see from our graduates. If you think about the broader work of like a portrait of a graduate or something, all those indicators are solid indicators of success and future success outside of school. We continue to struggle just a little bit with data reporting and getting things to the right place. So I always feel like MLA has kind of underreported our success, but we're trying to do a better job of getting that data from our kids that we need from them, like their community service hours or some of those things that they do that they may not put into Zello, that we just don't know about. We continue to struggle with chronic absenteeism. I think a factor common between both of the programs, most kids come to MVA or come to MLA because they have been missing too much school. It's the number one factor that leads somebody at another program to say, hey, you need to look at an alternative pathway. So probably 100%, close to 100% of our referrals have attendance troubles. This year between the two programs, our chronic absenteeism was 39%, which is still 4 out of 10 kids, but 6 out of 10 kids that used to be chronically absent were no longer chronically absent. So in the at-risk world, if you're batting above 500, you're doing pretty well. And so I credit the staff with providing those engaging opportunities and building relationships with kids, which really helped that. MLA, 17 graduates to date. I know there's going to be more this summer. We have some kids in summer school that are going to finish. Number will probably be closer to 20 to 22 by the time the summer's over. You heard about the ICEV electives and the industry-based credentialing. There's other electives in there. We started with the Southwest Airlines one because that one seemed like the most adaptable one to us. Another work-based learning pre-apprenticeship indicator program is IJAG. We've had continued growth and impact of IJAG at MLA. We have a very good specialist that helps that. And the other thing that we've done to help kids see themselves potentially in college and try to demystify going to college is we launched an MLA-only section of a class called the College Experience. The College Experience is required at MCC if you want to get an AA degree, but we can't get our kids to go there to show up. So we launched a class where we had some sessions of the class that met in our building with an MCC professor, and then we bussed kids out on campus for a few of the other meetings. And we had, I can't remember, I know it was over a dozen kids that completed that class. So they learn about what's at MCC, what are the programs, how can I finance my education if I want to, what's it like to go to college, and we're just trying to make that all less scary for them. And a lot of our kids are going to access CTE programs, and that's great. We call that college downstairs, and that's important to them and their future and being future ready. Talked about this morning, and I'd already had this on our slide. We need to get a mental health provider back in our building that can serve gen ed kids. Right now, most of our buildings can have providers that can serve special education students, but we're not gen ed. That's going to be really important. Continue to provide those authentic, personalized learning experiences. seek other unique opportunities and partnerships to enhance that future visioning piece for MLA students, so they don't feel limited by just graduating from high school, that they can see themselves as going on to do something else, whatever that something else is. Okay.
The disadvantage to doing this in person is that you open yourself up for questions.
Correct. I'm ready.
So, are there any questions?
Just a comment, probably more for Jordan, but Junior Achievement has an online like career readiness course now, or they've had it.
Okay.
But it didn't qualify previously as a credential thing. It's now credentialed by the state of Iowa, so that might be something that some of the kids at MLA or MVA may be interested to knock out, that base learning credential.
No, absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
We have a district partnership, so there's no additional cost for kids to use that, so.
That's good news.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I would just say a couple of things. One, thank you for tonight, for your many, many years of service to the Marshtown School District. I've always thought that MLA in particular was a real hidden gem in this district. I mean, you guys are doing tremendous work for a population that is underserved and incredibly deserving. And so thank you to you and to your staff for all of that hard work as well.
Yeah, I have a great team, but thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Justin, you're back up.
Justin Bolivar, Principal, Marshtown High School.
So I think at the last meeting, Justin, you spoke about.
This is the MBA
Handbook.
student handbook.
Mm-hmm. They did. Was there
So we're bringing
follow-up
it back.
questions? Oh,
It's back. The first time it's for discussion, the second time it's for approval. And you were sitting back there, so. Are there any, I assume there are no changes to it from the last time around?
there are not.
Are there any questions? If not, is there a motion to approve the 25-26 MVA student handbook as presented?
So moved. Second.
Faltus Stanley, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Justin.
Justin.
We've been way together too much today. Okay. Well, we have had many substitutes in the district this year, and as some teacher substitutes have been applying for their teacher licensure, one of the things that happens is they're asked if there's a link to a substitute handbook. And so the answer has been no. They've reached out to me, and I've referred them to the employee handbook, and so it's about time, I think, that we be more specific and help our substitutes. We do have 45-ish active teacher substitutes. This year we did hire many of our teacher substitutes to take positions in the district, which is fantastic that they wanted to be here, so we'll have to replenish our resources. So again, I just took the employee handbook and basically struck out many of the things that are not applicable to them. My HR assistants felt strongly that it was important. For example, we added building information in there so that substitutes know when they accept a job at specific buildings where it is. We have to add a map in here as well so that they can find that if they're not using their, and some substitutes do not use their Google Maps, I'm sorry, but then they can look on a map to kind of get a general feel for where it goes. In the table of contents, I've crossed off things that would not apply to substitute teachers or substitute paras or substitute secretaries or substitute bus drivers because they do not have any benefits. So most of the benefits are crossed off there, as well as any reference to the appendices. So going through, every time we refer to them as employees, while they are employees, we just changed the word to substitute. And then again, I'm on page 2, and I'm just scrolling through, reading off the things that were struck out. They're highlighted there for your review. All the policies, disciplinary actions, as you know, substitutes can also be disciplined. And so we want them to be fully informed and aware of the expectations moving forward with the district. Again, email responsiveness, we do need our substitutes to be responsive, just like any of our other employees. That was on page 15. There's some corrections there. There's not really, there's a payroll period, but it kind of changes for if you're a teacher or if you're hourly employee. So we wanted to correct that on page 17. Separation of employment, substitutes are at-will employees. We do appreciate them giving us information about their leaving, but some resign through their absenteeism. If a substitute hasn't taken a job for several months, we will just delete them from our system because it just bogs it down. Work from home is not an option on page 18. The length of the days, depending upon the job that they choose, whether it's an hourly employee or a teacher sub. Sometimes our teacher subs do think that they can just leave the building because somebody has a plan, but oftentimes we may ask them to stay longer and during that plan time, cover for another teacher, a coach, or something who's left for the day. I do know some folks who specifically look for at the high school, those who have an early morning class so they can be done at 3 o'clock, those kinds of things. So we have to explain that to them. They're not, and none of them are eligible for overtime. We expect our hourly substitutes to use time clock. Obviously, they don't have any leave, so as you're scrolling past pages 22, 23, 24, there's no holidays on page 25. There are no other benefits on page 26, but we definitely want to refer them to all of the board policies that would impact them as we would do the same referencing for our other employees. So there are no changes up through. Going past 30, 31. Keeping up with me over there, Amy? Business procedures manuals, they do not handle any of the items that are in the business procedure manual, so we did take that out. They do, the only thing they have is an ID. They cannot print with their ID. It has no door access to them whatsoever. It's just a means of identifying them as a staff member. We do want them to be knowledgeable of drills when they're in the different buildings on page 33. Again, just changing the word employee to substitute. Workplace injuries, we do want them to report their injuries. And then finally, we added to the appendix how to become a substitute on page 35 and what they will have to do, especially in the case of becoming a teacher substitute. And I think this would help those who are going through that teacher licensure or the substitute licensure that's available through the become a substitute teacher with the district. Any questions?
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Was it on page 3? Well, this page 3. I don't know if it's your page 3. I believe it's missing the information for the Woodbury. It says Woodbury, but it doesn't have like the address or.
Thank you. I will
principal.
be sure to include that.
And then for Fisher, we need a L under principal. And then also.
Good point. Thank you for that.
And then also
that
the
typo.
name.
Yeah, new principal. Well, we have new principals, right? And Ainson as well, and over at Woodbury.
Right. And hopefully soon there'll be a new principal at Fisher as well. So,
That is true.
yeah, I noticed the same thing, Maria, as I was looking
I
through.
beat you.
Any other questions? All right, well, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
So is everybody okay approving that, subject to those couple of corrections?
Corrections, yeah.
Okay.
And adding the map.
Yes. Okay. Then is there a motion to approve the substitute handbook as presented and to be corrected?
So moved.
Second.
Morales Faltis, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 5-0.
The next topic with legislative priorities, and I think I'm going to ask that there not be any action on this tonight. I'll bring it back in July. My original thought, as I shared at the last meeting, was to probably bring the same 4 priorities forward, since very little happened in a positive way with them this year. Again, but in talking with Dave Dodden from Rural School Advocates of Iowa, and I still want to talk to Margaret Buckton at ISFIS as well, or the UEN, they were thinking that we might want to consider something around the tax reform and or particularly as it relates to local control of the school districts being able to do what they need to do with like the management fund, for example, because some of the amendments that were out there that thankfully didn't get approved into law were going to put restrictions on how much money and or what we could do with those particular funds. As you know, with management, that largely goes towards property and casualty insurance, early retirement commitments, paying settlements like for lawsuits and things like that, which are becoming more prevalent all the time. And their concern is if we have limitations on that, in our ability to capture funds to take care of those kinds of things, that's going to start to result in general fund, having to pay money that otherwise would go through for teachers' benefits, curriculum, those types of things. So I want to take a little bit more time to speak with them. All 4 priorities that we've had are still very relevant. I think there's some concerns on the mental health one, in that regardless of what the state does, right now the biggest problem is shortage of providers. And so we could have all the money in the world, but if there aren't providers to acquire, we're not going to be able to use it effectively and that sort of thing. I still definitely feel strongly, and they did get very close to considering approving full-day preschool for low SES kids, which I think would be a game changer if we could at least do that. So I think that I feel strongly that needs to be on there, and adequate state supplemental aid increases still extremely important, and we've fallen back into the provide less than what they need, and then in 10 years we're going to have to do something significant with teacher pay, like what happened recently. So the other item regarding employee recruitment and retention, particularly as it relates to teachers, still is very important. We're having a much better year this year than what we've had in the recent past in terms of filling positions, but what I really would love to see is a continued stream of funds, which they did find a short-term funding source to help support both increases for our support staff again, but then that parent-to-teacher program's been instrumental for us in terms of creating a future pipeline of folks. I think there's still a lot of others that could be in our community that could be supported that would be viable to pursue that if funds existed for it. And that 1-year infusion was extraordinarily helpful, but it's not, it was a one-year infusion, so it really doesn't help sustain improvement in that arena. But probably what will happen after I talk with Margaret, I'll send out a doodle poll with 5, 6 priorities like we did last year and see where the majority falls on a top 4, because IASB only lets us submit 4 of them, so.
Questions, thoughts?
Good plan.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. I mean, I think it's, should be fairly obvious they're gonna try and do some sort of property tax big thing in this next legislative session, so, yeah.
And we may have to craft our own language around that particular priority, because I don't think, I mean, IASB has things regarding local control, but it doesn't really touch upon some of the significant concerns that arose about what they're proposing to do this year. So I can work with those folks to craft some new language.
Okay. Anything else on legislative priorities? Okay. Adam, you're back.
Came back.
You got a little break in there.
What's that?
You got a little break in there.
Eat some dinner.
Yeah, go get some supper.
So this item here is a change order for the Orpheum Parking Lot Welcome Center Parking Lot project. Since this was essentially 2 bid alternates to the city's Main Street Recon project, we have this broken up into 2 different change orders here. 1A pertains to the parking lot portion, and 1B pertains to the alley portion, which is a shared cost with Marshtown Waterworks. Scope of the parking lot change order decreased due to a few different reasons. The big item was removal of quite a bit of that seat wall. If you recall, during a prior, I think, finance session, we talked, those prices just came in way over what any initial estimates were, so that was a pretty easy decision to reduce the quantity of that. We still have some on site in select areas, but that quantity came down quite a bit. Also, during the final permitting phase with the DOT, they came back and asked that we remove the dedicated parking lot driveway to the parking lot and just increase the width of the alley and essentially use that as our primary entrance to the parking lot. After some discussion with some district staff, we agreed to do that. So what that did, there's a lot of items on here, but what a lot of them essentially are is increasing the alley width and removing the entrance on the parking lot. So just a lot of kind of back and forth. So in the end, the total amount for change order 1A gave you a credit of $38,000, and 1B was an increase of I think $3,777. And again, that cost is shared by Waterworks. One thing to note, in the beginning, there was a revision to this. We had an error in change order item, I believe 1.13. We had an incorrect unit cost for that. So that was the reason for the change at the beginning of the meeting here. I can run through some numbers here, and please, I'm happy to repeat them or explain them in a little more detail, but just kind of the end result of these change orders. So like we mentioned, the net change on the parking lot went down $38,275. The net change on the alley went up $3,777. So the new totals overall were $299,260.25 for the parking lot and $50,124 for the alley. Cutting that alley cost in half, you come to a grand total of $324,322.25, which again is an overall deduction in both those combined contracts of $36,386.75. So always good to come with a change order that results in a deduction overall.
I think the only other increase I can think of is construct highly recommended replacing, I don't know, a third of that sidewalk from the alley to, along the eastern edge of the Orpheum.
Correct. That item is part of that sidewalk item. Some of the sidewalk was to replace the driveway, but you're correct. Once we got out there, we did notice that stoop was quite a bit higher than that adjacent sidewalk. I think in the beginning, we always try to look at what's in good condition, what we can maybe save some money on. But I think once we got into it and started to look at everything out there on site, kind of realized that removing that sidewalk was in everyone's best interest.
And that's part of change order number 1A, correct?
Correct, 1A. Most of that, again, most of that quantity is in CO 1.9, that sidewalk 4-inch. So some of that is part of the driveway. We had we took the driveway out, so sidewalk had to go back in it along 3rd Avenue. But a good chunk of that is for that sidewalk we decided to go ahead and replace. I think that's summary. And this, if approved, this will go to City Council for their approval of a change order. This and among other items associated with the Main Street project next Monday.
Questions, comments? Is there a motion to approve the change orders 1A and 1B as presented?
So moved. Second.
Faltus, Stanley? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thanks, Adam. Now you can go have dessert.
I'm in a school board meeting. I'll call you back later.
My turn.
It's your turn.
My turn.
Everybody else has had one.
I get plenty of turns. So tonight is the amendment as done in prior years for Dr. Schuette's superintendent contract. So after previous meetings and evaluations based off of board discussion, recommended increase of 2.96% to Dr. Schuette's salary in alignment with certified staff, and going back to a 3-year rolling with term commencing July 1, 2025 and ending June 30, 2028.
Any questions or comments? Then is there a motion to approve the superintendent's contract as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Wall, Faltus. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. The motion carries 5-0. Are you also talking about the insurance,
I am.
Andy?
Yep.
Okay.
So as you recall, at the last meeting, Bobby Shomo was here. And at that time, we were discussing the Storm Protection Fund, which was due this year. So we wanted formal action with that to join that 2080. At that time, Bobby had just also gotten the renewal numbers, so he had shared that with the board. So we wanted to bring that back tonight just for formal board approval. Nothing has changed since Bobby was here a couple weeks ago and shared that information. Overall, while there was some increases across the board with our property and work comp coverage, with the offset of no longer needing the wind hail deductible buyback and switching to the storm protection fund, an overall increase of $17,000 in our property casualty and work comp insurance premiums for the upcoming year, which is paid out of our management fund.
Are there any questions for Randy? You guys can bring it in again next year at a modest increase like that?
I hope so.
Is there a motion to approve the property casualty and workman's comp insurance renewal for the 25-26 year as presented?
So moved. Second.
Stanley Faltus, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. Motion carries 5-0. And we're at policy, Sarah.
I have 3 policies. The first one, 202.6, Student School Board Representatives. No changes. We can mark that as reviewed. And then 202.6R, again, well, that's Student School Board Representatives Regulation. No changes, and we can mark that one as reviewed. 202.6E, Student School Board Representative Application. No changes to that one. Mark as reviewed.
Nice. Any questions about those policies? Then they'll all be marked as reviewed. Abby, any additional communications for us this evening?
Not tonight.
Maybe next time.
Yep.
Okay. I don't believe there were any committees that met since our last meeting, so there's probably no committee reports.
Do we need to talk about our training?
Oh, we could talk about that, sure. Since you brought it up, you can.
Let's see, I'm trying to remember which sessions I attended. I think the second session I attended had it was information more about kind of more the work-based learning alternative kind of program. Which school district was that? I don't remember. I think so, where they.
Was I with you in that one?
Yeah, it was Winterset. And just how they got the kids involved in not just work-based learning activities, but also community service type activities, and really partnering with childcare providers, partnering with other community outreach. The example they had that I thought was very cool was the group of students who they thought that a way to solve a community problem of students causing trouble in the community was to provide an activity for those students in the evenings, and they got together and raised money and created a drive-in movie theater for students on the weekends and gave them somewhere to go meet and do something more productive. Got volunteers from the community to help with the snacks and the movies. And so I was like, oh, that's a very innovative way to try to fix that problem.
They have the adulting 101.
Yes, that's right.
And that was, I thought that was an awesome idea. It would be like a building up from Finance Park, JA Finance Park.
Mm-hmm.
I've done a lot of ideas about that.
Yeah, you're not on the microphone, but so the Adulting 101 was kind of like they took them to, they had to go to different places in the community. So it kind of takes the financial literacy class that you have and that JA Park and combines the two, where you have to create a plan and you have to actually go to a bank and in town and have the conversation with them about starting an account. You have to actually go to an insurance agent in town and have that conversation. So that was a good one.
Sean and I think we're at the fine arts one.
Yeah, I went to the fine arts one. Zach, did you go to the fine arts? Zach also attended the fine arts.
I think Creston maybe were the presenters for that, but largely, it was obvious. And then there was a gentleman from the Arts Association that also presented there, but it was a good reminder at how fortunate we are to be in a community, in a school district that has such strong passion for the fine arts, and we probably need to do a better job of showcasing, what we have and how it compares to what others don't have, particularly in terms of the full scale of programming and stuff. But I thought they did a nice job there. And got free T-shirts out of the deal.
Now you're gonna wear yours tonight.
I think mine accidentally got thrown away.
No.
Goodwill wouldn't take it. Had my name on it.
I'm intrigued. I want to see the shirt now.
Anything else anybody wants to share from the?
I mean, for me, the marketing and branding seniors are good friends and colleagues of mine, so it was interesting getting their perspective from it. Have my notes in front of me from that session talking about how you integrate your brand and thinking about how to really connect it with your community. But one of the presenters said the best strategic plans have the brand in mind. So no matter where you are within your strategic plan, it really connects to who you are. And then the other piece that really stuck with me is if you don't live it, don't post it. So if you aren't truly living that within your district, you aren't truly doing that, it's not something that your community sees. You know, you have to kind of step back, evaluate, think about, is this truly who our district is?
Thanks. Reminders, we don't have a regular meeting until July. Do we need to schedule a special?
Yeah, so I had thrown out a calendar invite for a special meeting for the purpose of entertaining the high school parking lot bids for June 23rd, but I haven't had everybody respond, so I know whether we can even get a quorum yet for that. Randy is also wanting to schedule a board finance committee meeting for about a half hour. So I don't know if I should push, I don't know if Monday's the problem for board members or if it'd be better to go at like 4 or 5 o'clock versus the noon hour on that day. We probably need an hour total. It probably won't take a full hour to do the parking lot or a half hour to do the parking lot thing. And for the finance committee members, although that could just be part of the special meeting, don't you think?
If you want a full board update on that.
Yeah.
Noon on, I haven't responded, but noon on Monday or after 4 on Monday, both work for me.
Okay.
I prefer noon.
Noon will work for me.
Well, okay. So we'll take tentative off that date and then,
Noon on the 23rd is the
right,
23rd.
and maybe we can just capture both things in that meeting.
Okay.
And I could meet earlier than noon if you, for the finance committee.
Right, if you want to do
need.
a finance committee at
I
11:30.
can do
I don't care.
11, as early as 11 on that day.
Just name the time and you'll show up, is that, okay? Yeah, we can talk more, I guess, and you can tell me, give me some direction on how you want to approach that, so. Okay.
Okay, so noon on the 23rd. Something will
Want to be
happen.
a special board meeting, yeah.
Yep. And just a reminder, I don't know who has or hasn't yet. Abby hasn't sent me the information, but the board self-evaluation is still, you don't need to do it right now, Abby. If you haven't yet completed the board self-evaluation, make sure you do.
He's looking at me.
I don't know. I'm looking at,
Oh my God,
you're to my
he is?
left.
No.
And I didn't do it myself till last night, so I'm not, But if you haven't, go ahead and get it done, so that we can talk goals, superintendent, board goals, in July would be the ideal, so we can get that done. Okay? What have we done this evening? Oh, let me back up. Any items for a future agenda? And I guess I just thought of one. The communications staff member, Abby presented on that.
Yeah.
And I assume it didn't come back this time because Randy
We're
was busy with other stuff. And
Yeah, that, and we're just trying to collect responses to some of the questions, information
Okay.
related to some of the questions that came up.
Okay. I just realized now that we hadn't brought it back, so, okay.
Yeah, I think on the news update, Dr. Shi
News
had
and
talked
notes.
Yeah, news and notes. He had mentioned that he'll bring it up later.
Was that on the second page of the news and notes that didn't come through on mine? I had a blank page.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why that would be.
Anyway. Okay. What have we done this evening to improve education for the students in Marshalltown?
Approve the math curriculum for special ed.
The Big Brothers Big Sister, like seeing the increase and also the feedback from the students and the nurse update.
I thought it was really good to hear from Dawson and Katie about that Southwest class that they basically put together. And then to hear Eric's report on MVA, MLA, and yeah, I think that was really good. I liked to hear about what the district behavior strategist is up to.
A lot of great information.
Yeah. You mentioned the health report. I was looking at that the other night, and I was telling Megan that there were like 75,000 visits to the nurse health office over the course of the school year, and she was like blown away that there are that many visits to the nurse, so.
Well, and a huge number of them return to class.
Just go back to class,
which is
right?
amazing.
Yeah.
97%? Yeah.
Just need a break.
Yeah.
It's okay.
They need a Band-Aid for their boo-boo. You know, the elementary kids.
Anything else? Then, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Faltus Stanley, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no.